Welcome to my channel. Please subscribe my channel. There is a news, I'm just reading it for you. I have found online in NDTV. The news is about Supreme Court asked three questions to Election Commission about Bihar's special intensive revision of voter roll. Mainly, Supreme Court emphasized, specifically questioned Election Commission about the timings of the special intensive revision. What is the timing? Why are you doing this time? Right? If you are doing the same exercise, maybe not this time, it is not a problem. It is not a debatable issue. It is not a question. But the question is, why are you doing this exercise of special intensive revision of voter rolls in Bihar this time? Is the major question asked by the Supreme Court to Election Commission. We have to see what Election Commission gives them the reply. The news reads like this: the timing of the Election Commission's special intensive revision of Bihar's electoral rolls months before the assembly election was questioned by the Supreme Court on Thursday in a high-stakes hearing that included arguments on disenfranchisement and determinants of citizenship. Here, this is what the important point which Supreme Court said. Your exercise is not the problem, it is the timing. Justice Sudhanshu Dhulia told the Election Commission, noting individuals dropped from the list would have no time to appeal the exclusion. If an individual dropped from the list, if you drop from the list, where is the time for them to go for an appeal? Because elections are coming in 4 to 5 months. You drag this special intensive revision of this voter roll for at least 1 or 2 months. There will be no time for that. You will lock it. Once you complete this list, you lock it. Once you lock it, even if they go for a special appeal or review of why you dropped their name, you say the time is not there. Elections already, notification has come. If notification comes, then you will not entertain them anyway. So this is what actually Supreme Court specifically asked the Election Commission, that here your exercise is not the problem, it is the timing that is the problem. And also Supreme Court said there is nothing wrong in the exercise, except that a person will be disenfranchisement ahead of the election and he or she won't have the time to defend the exclusion before voting. If some name is excluded from the list, if some name is excluded from the list, where is the time for him to defend, to argue, to reappeal again the inclusion of his name? So that is the problem Supreme Court specifically asked. Courts will not touch the electoral roll once they are finalized, which means disenfranchisement person will lack the option to challenge it before the election is set. And I also said, if anybody wants to go to court that you removed my name, where is the time for them to come to court and again challenge the inclusion of his name because you are doing it the last moment? This is a valid question asked by the Supreme Court. There is nothing wrong in having the intensive process. So non-citizens do not remain on rolls, but it should be dehards conducted separately from this election. What the Supreme Court means to say that if you want to do intensive process on those non-citizens, you can do it. You should do it separately, but not with this election. Top court asked 3 questions to Election Commission. This is very important issue and goes to the very root of democracy. Very fundamental, very important point is, this is an important issue, goes to the very root of democracy. They, the petitioners, are not only challenging the powers of the Election Commission, but also a procedure. Supreme Court then said it is sought a reply from the poll panel to ask few questions. Question number 1, explain the panel's authority to conduct a special intensive revision at this time. Explain the validity of review procedure and explain the timing of the exercise just before an election. Why are you doing this? Answer me these three questions. This is a question asked by the Supreme Court. And also the Supreme Court said, and also the Supreme Court refused an interim stay on the voter list revision before today's hearing. Of course, asked tough questions of the poll panel. So this included asking the EC to explain which section of the law, the Representation of People's Act, allowed it to conduct this exercise. This is neither summary revision or intensive revision. Where is special intensive revision? The panel was asked. See, in the Representation of People Act, there is something called summary revision. Intensive revision. But where is a special intensive revision? What is the authority to launch a special intensive revision? This is again asked by the Supreme Court. Earlier, one of the petitioners, senior advocate Gopal Sankarnarayanan, he also argued the revision is arbitrary and discriminative since it forces voters on the list for over a decade to re-verify themselves and to do without using government issued ID cards like Aadhaar cards. See, they have given list of 11 documents to submit. Of course, there are three categories they kept. I think before 2004, after 2004, recently added in 2024. Before 2004, you can just show one of the documents. If it is after 2004, you have to show parents, father's document also you have to prove. And if it is recently added in 2024, you have to prove even your father and mother both. Now, what if they are the villagers? Bihar is a state where illiteracy is very high. Illiterates are more in Bihar. In such a state, if you keep so many documents, if you give the list of so many documents to provide, from where they will provide? First, they don't understand the basic meaning of those documents you are listed in the list. So it's very difficult for villagers and illiterate people to provide all the documents which are asking in the revision. It's very unfortunate. If you think deeply on this point too, on the High Court had asked a question and court had questions for the poll panel asking why an ID instead of the government, asking why an ID insisted on by the government as proof of identity for the issue of other documents has been excluded. And what it means to say that you are given the list, but why you excluded Aadhaar card in this? Among the 11, why you excluded Aadhaar card? Senior advocate Sankarnarayan set the ball rolling this morning by pointing out there have been 10 major elections, 5 federal and 5 state elections have been held since the last revision. The last revision, there are 10 elections are over. Now why you want to revise it? They say last revision was in 2003. When Bihar's population was 4 crore people, now it is about 7.9 crore. What they defended, these people, Election Commission, defending advocate says that in 2003, last was done in 2003, that time it was only 4 crore population, now it is 7.9 crore population. Okay, 10 elections have happened, so we don't have an option, so we want to do it again. But it's okay, you do it, but why? Why are doing it at the last minute? Point 1, why are doing it at the last minute? And why excluded Aadhaar card? Why are insisting on 11 documents? Why you say that prove your father's identity? Why you pressurize in certain cases mother's identity also? These are all leads to exclusion of few voters. If you exclude few voters intentionally, because they belong to the opposition parties, And again, same thing it will happen. What happened in Maharashtra? Rahul Gandhi said they added so many voters in the last minute. All those voters who are added newly to the voters list, they all voted to Bharatiya Janata Party in Maharashtra. Something happened in the Maharashtra. That is allegation of Rahul Gandhi, right? The same doubt they got, so they are done Bandh. They called for Bandh. Of course, they successfully completed Bandh yesterday. So this is about the news, but definitely, it is definitely a concern what's going on in Bihar. Thank you, Namaskar.